You ready? Okay. So we're starting Parashat Bereishit, the first parasha of the Torah. First of all, I want to dedicate the shiur to a few people. One of them is Michael ben Or Miriam. He's one of our dedicated supporters, and also Rachel Chaya Batzara. And also to the Refuah Shlema, I heard, I hope it's not true, but I heard that Rav Jonathan Sachs is not doing well. So we wish him a speedy recovery and really Refuah Shlema. So the parasha starts. Of course, with the Torah starts with a pasuk, with a verse. Bereishit bara Elokim, Bereishit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. 7 words. 7 words that, in a way, are somewhat problematic, and we'll see why and what's the story with that. So, which are really tremendous words. Bereshit, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Bereshit bara Elokim. So, we need to exactly see what it is. What is this pasuk coming to teach us? So, on that question, generations of scholars dealt with this question. And whether there were people who were pshat, people, whether they're Kabbalists, and there were books and schools of thoughts that were developed just on that verse, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. And everybody tried to really understand the meaning of this word and the idea and behind that. That the pasuk has it, and everybody, whatever they were, great scholars or first graders and so on and so forth, really trying to or understand it. The general trend is to understand it as a commandment, almost, or an expectation that it's given to men to worship God. Since God created in the beginning, therefore you have to worship God. Right? That's what you expect, and that's what we all go like this, and that is really accepting the Malchut Shamayim on that, as they call it, the yoke of mitzvot, call it the burden of mitzvot, and so on and so forth. But that demand or that expectation has a little different. We can take it in a different way, and of course there is the story of creation of the world, and the word was created, and this is and of course we're going to first of all speak about the beginning of humanity. There was man, Adam, and Chava, and his wife, and so on and so forth. So, what is that Parashat Bereishit is actually adding to the concept of what is the contribution of Parashat Bereishit altogether? Well, be'emet, really, what do I care? And the Mefarshim, Rashi, and other Mefarshim dealt with this and said, really, let's start with something else. And of course, we're dealing with, we will deal with this Bezat Hashem further down. So, and it also is a matter of Emunah. The greatest thinkers of Emunah, of Jewish belief, dealt with that. The Rambam, Maimonides, does a tremendous effort to really free the concept of knowing God from any kind of dependency on, let's say, knowledge or so on and so forth. In other words, the Kabbalat on Malchut, receiving the kingship of God in the world, has to be for the sake of receiving the Torah and receiving God as the world, without you knowing anything, without you any predetermined notions. Whether you know what it means to create or what it doesn't mean anything. You have to accept that there is God, and that's it. That's what the Rambam is trying to do, or any kind of information about creation of the world. Because really, in a way, what does it have to do with me creating the world and so on? The Ramban, Nachmanides, see in the concept of emunah, of what we're talking about, emunat hachidush, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is mechadesh betuvo bechol yom tamid maaseh bereshit, and so on and so forth, a condition to the belief in Hashem. And he's trying to give creation a different meaning in terms of the belief to the cosmological phenomena of what was the world created and so on and so forth. If you want to look something further into that, you should look at what Baal HaTurim said on that pasuk, which we're talking about the repetition of Parashat Bereishit. Look at Baal HaTurim over there; it's very interesting. So the idea of the pasuk, right, or the essence of those 7 words that we are talking about, Bereishit, bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, what is that exactly? Is that an information or a statement about a specific event that happened somewhere in time, right? In a specific time, it was like arguments like, is that the Big Bang that everybody is talking about? If so, right, we're talking about Reshit, the beginning, so there has to be, beginning of what? You're telling me the beginning, is it the beginning of what? So you're telling me it's the beginning of course, the beginning of time, right? Is that the beginning of time? So right away we are coming up to one of the greatest problems or challenges that we have, or maybe the greatest one, that in terms of metaphors that we're using and so on and so forth, which is of course is a matter of time and the concept of beginning of time. So if time begin at the year 00.00000, what was in the universe in time minus 0.0001, whatever, right? What was it there? If there was a beginning, so therefore there is an end, and so on and so forth. What exactly is going on there? And if we are saying Reshit, or the concept of Reshit, is that the beginning of reality, the way we have it? And if that's the beginning of reality, is there a different reality? And that's all in that concept. Can we, for example, make a different category of human thinking, in terms of that there's maybe a different reality and so on? Philosophers try to deal with these questions all the time. Jewish and non-Jewish philosophers alike, when we are talking about what does it mean, the concept of Reshit, beginning, and so on and so forth. Even though, if we're going to go Bereishit, in the beginning, what is the beginning? Beginning, again, the beginning of what? So then we're going to move to the second word. It says bara, created. What does it mean, created? Do you know what it means to create? Can you create something? You can't. You can form things. You can take material and make something of it. You can take clay, wood, whatever, and then but you're not creating, you're forming, you're shaping, you're not creating. So what does it mean for example, to create? Right? If we look as human, there is, or people, there is doing, forming, shaping, so on and so forth. The concept of creating is not applicable to us. So, again, it's very enigmatic, and we don't really know exactly what it is, and we don't understand what's the category, what falls under the category of creation in our world, in the world that we know, in our reality, and it's very, very weird. So the later theologies, or schools of theology that try to deal with that saying is creating something out of nothing. Of course, there was a concept in science that you should think, havayat Mashu mi'ein. From nothing, you got something. So that's what creating means. But did you ever bother yourself to think what does it mean to create? It's beyond me to think what's create, because I cannot think of something that it's not here, and then all of a sudden I'm going to do something that's going to be here. My thought is just a electric impulse to go towards to make my muscle move. But my thought cannot generate something outside of my body that is not here. So what does it mean, creating? We all say it, Bereshit bara, but what does it mean? We never thought about it, right? So that's a tremendous. It's a very non-rational concept. It just doesn't make sense. That thing does not make sense. So of course, in science, one way to deal with it with science is just simply throw away the whole thing out. So I don't have to deal with it. It's like, put it under the carpet. Yeah, that doesn't exist. Let's move on. But that's not it. The Torah still tells us something that we're going along with. However, more than that, if you look at this, for example, and we don't know exactly what it means. So if you're going to look at the Ibn Ezra, and the Ibn Ezra really does not agree with this concept, and he says that in terms of the concept of bara, of creating, really refers to the relationship, or the way God relates to the world. It's a certain form of expressing a relationship between God and the world. But what does it exactly mean? What's the quality of this religion? What is this all about that we don't understand and we cannot even imagine? So how do I relate to this? So it seems that those two words in which the Torah starts with, right, does not give us anything or does not help us with anything in terms of the awareness of humans, of us, to what happened during this time. That's why we feel very comfortable all of a sudden adopting scientific concepts like the Big Bang. Because we feel okay with that, because it doesn't challenge us so much. But when I'm talking to you about something that you can't really relate to, and you say, well, I've been talking about this all the time, but I don't know what I'm talking about, so let me just drop this 1 second and find something that I can feel okay with, and then I'm going to say, oh, that's the Big Bang. I could sit down here and really reason to you why the 6 days of creation, based on maybe quantum physics and some other ideas, why the Big Bang and the case of creation does fit. But I'm going to tell you further that I have no idea. I could just babble between today and tomorrow and probably some other days during the week. But I have no idea, because these are concepts that are beyond my existence, beyond my realm. And it's being very much clear when you start learning a little bit Kabbalah, when we know, for example, certain worlds, right? When we have the top world, the 4 worlds, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, Ve'asiyah, we know that there's certain words we can reach. It's beyond us. We can only do what? Asiyah, Olam Asiyah. We only do it here. We can do maybe Yetzirah, formation. I can form things. But Bria and Atzilut I can't reach. It's beyond me. It's not in my ability. It's like, it's impossible, and yet we use this all the time. So of course there is something here that is hitting that we're missing the point all the time here. And when we're talking about the first pasuk of the Torah, you should know that the first pasuk of the Torah refers to the greatest concept or the greatest source for emunah, for belief in God. The world is not God, and that's what you should understand. People, in other religions, they say nature is God and this. The world is not God, and the opposing concept of that really exists in for example, in human human culture and so on and so forth, is the opposing force that we have in terms of Judaism to idol worshiping. That those gods or those deities really refer to the world in which they are living in this world. So therefore there are certain spirits in the forest, and the spirits in the sword, and the spirit in the sky, and so on and so forth. All those worlds, all the other religions refer to the power of God as something that relates and comes and lives and dwells in this world, where Judaism in the first pasuk of the Torah tells you, no, Bereishit bara Elokim min hashamayim. And guess what? The first 2 words, you don't even know what you're talking about. And we never thought about it this way. So what I wanted to tell you is you have to be very careful with what you're saying, because many times, without any malintent, without even thinking wrong, many times we spew out words and ideas that are completely idolatry, the Pashut Avodah Zarah. We are saying words that are really almost like idol worshipping, without even knowing, because we don't think. And that's what we're trying to do, so something completely different. So for example, what Judaism is trying to do is the complete opposite, for example, of Christianity, right? Christianity, in a way, received from Judaism the concept of this transcendental God, right? That there is God. But what did it do right away? Right away, it took a human figure and took this transcendental God and put it into a human figure. They call it Jesus. They couldn't deal with something that's so abstract, so they put it like this. Or for example, just the complete opposite of atheism. Everybody like today, one time you used to say, oh, I'm a hippie, oh, I'm a hipster, oh, I'm this, that. It's like, I'm an atheist. Most people even don't know what atheism is all about. But just say, I'm an atheist, I'm good, I'm a liberal, I'm conservative, I'm an atheist, So regarding atheism, for an atheist, the whole entire world and everything, that we have in the world, including Hashem, is it's all one thing, and God is not an entity by itself. Everything is nature and so on and so forth. That's it. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in anything. It's all nature and so on and so forth. Comes to Judaism, tells you completely no, the opposite. Let me get this straight you out. Judaism tells you, Bereishit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. The world is not God, and God is not the world. God is above the world. He's above what we can, and that's why we cannot understand it. It's above our ability to understand. It's like you're going to ask me if I was a piece of wood that somebody just chopped. If I'm a 2x4, you're going to ask me to think, how does the carpenter that's going to make a table out of me today, what exactly is he thinking? What do I know? What does a 2x4 have to do with a guy who has emotions and feelings? And the distance between us and God is even further than there's a 2x4 to us. Believe me what I'm telling you. So don't hold it so greatly for yourself. And don't be so eager to throw God behind you. So, and we need to understand that above any reality in which we tie or attach the concept of man or our needs or our interests and so on and so forth, that comes from our reality in the real world, right? It's not the world, and I have a chidush for you, not men are the main focal point of this whole creation. But rather God is the most important. He is the ikar. He is the main, he's the main thing. We think that we are so important. We're not. God is more important than all of us. And we need to understand what does that mean. The world which we live in, including mankind, is really dismissible. And later on it says by the way, it says in the Siddur, it says, Atau ad shelo nivra ha'olam, ve'atau mishenivra ha'olam. You were you before the universe were created, and you will be you after the universe will be gone. So, what we are talking about in terms of creation, that we're talking about Parashat Bereishit, really rejects the whole concept of this neutral humanistic concept all the way to the side and push it away, and what comes along it's all about emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, believing in God. So when we're talking about, for example, about the psukim, for example, if we're going to go to the concept of creating men, right, when God created men, so when it says nefesh chaya, when he made it into nefesh chaya, Rashi over there writes, Av be'ema v'chaya nekru nefesh chaya. Even animal, beasts, and wild animals and everything is called nefesh chaya, a living entity, a living soul. But zo shel adam chaya shebekulam. That is the most livelihood in it. Why? The reason is because he has a concept, he has a mind, and he has ability to speak. And animals don't speak. I don't care which school of Berkeley University you went to, or which state in California you went to, right? But let me tell you, animals don't speak. Animals don't have feelings. They don't have feelings. They have instincts. They don't have feelings. Animal cannot say, ooh, wow, let me tell you, that Napoleon tasted good. That can happen. I love Napoleon. I'll give him food, he'll eat. You give him some clover, they'll eat. It's an animal. It doesn't say, oh, wow, I love this. Right? We have a sense of desire, of feeling, and that's a part of the de'ah. I'm able to distinguish, and that's what I like, and that's what I don't like. Even, sometimes I might even like things that are not good for me, as the Rambam says. Most of the time, we like things that are not good for us. So, it says, Omnam gama adam vegama be'emot, this is Rashi, even men and animals are called nefesh chaya, but the big difference between them, ki nafsho shel adam chaya shebakulam, the soul of a man is stronger, there's more livelihood in it, because of the addition that we as humans have over animal. The Kli Yakar comes and rejects the Perush of Rashi. The Kli Yakar, he says, Uferusho dachuk, what he's saying is not really, doesn't sit so well with me. It says, Ki lo piresh b'mikra chaya mikulam. The pasuk does not say chaya mikulam, it says nefesh chaya. So in our pasuk, it's the men and animals are being presented as one thing, nefesh chaya, living entity, and commentators able to distinguish between nefesh chaya of an animal to nefesh chaya of a person. So if you're going to be able to say that this is better than this, you have nothing to rely on, because the Torah does not say this is better than this because of that. So that's why the Kli Chadash rejects Rashi's opinion. Later on, the Kli Yakar brings us the Perush of Rav Yitzchak Arama. And Baal, what sefer did he write? Who said that? Akedat Yitzchak, that's right. I couldn't tell which one said it. So that's right. He wrote the Sefer Akedat Yitzchak, and in Akedat Yitzchak he explains that the concept of Nishmat Chaim, he calls it Haruach HaChiyuni Animtza Ba'adam Ba'itza V'Barishona. That essential entity inside of him, that is initial is inside of him, that it's been there, that gives him the right advice and guides him the right way. That's what's the difference. And he says, Umitzido yeh adam lenefesh chaya, and he's going to become a nefesh chaya when he's going to have the other types of shlemut, hasheni v'hashlishi, and he's going to reach a certain level, al derech nefesh ruach neshama. So nefesh chaya is one, then you have to get the ruach, then you have to get the neshama. That's how you become complete. And that's what he calls the nishmat chayim, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave man, is basically nishma, a breath that is equal to all men and animals alike. And nefesh chaya represents his wholeness, complete state of when he reaches, and for that level you only reach when you have all parts of your neshama together. So how do we get this completion, this wholeness in a person? According to Baal HaKedah himself, he writes, "Ma she'asa ha'el yitbarach bo, efsharut torah chayut hu ha'miyuchad lo levad." Whatever, that's only what God gave it to you can do it by yourself, and so on and so forth. אמנם האדם הוא מה שישימו בפועל עד שיתלבש בו ויתואר בו. That you have to put it into action, and then until you're going to reach whatever you need to reach. And then you're going to reach the level, ויהי אדם לנפש חיה. And ויהי אדם לנפש חיה is basically an action that the person is doing, and by doing so he's executing from a plan to an action, he does it. However, the Kli Yakar also, he says that's inaccurate. That cannot be. It says it can't be that an expression that you use both for man and animal is going to describe a state that a man is in his perfect state. It's just impossible. Here you're telling me you're like an animal. Here you're telling me you're perfect, using the same term. We're missing something here altogether. So it says, וישב השם את האדם ויצר השם את האדם עפר מן האדמה ויפר באדם נשמת חיים ויהיה האדם לנפש חיה. So the Kli Yakar at the end says the chashivut, the expression, the importance of this revelation that the pasuk tells us, right? In terms of that, and why is that? And I'm quoting his words. שלא יטעה אדם, וגילה לנו הכתוב דבר זה, שלא יטעה אדם בעצמו לומר שבלי יגיעה ועמל יבוא לשלמותו אשר כבר נוצר ממנו ויסמוך על יתרון זה שנמצא ביצירתו. He says a person should not count on the fact that he was born human, that by doing so he is perfect and nothing really has to do anything about it. There's a lot of work that you will have to do. A lot of work that you have to do. Now, when the Kli Chadash says that, he says at the beginning, a person was sealed. He was sealed. He was just like an animal. Then comes HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'nafach be'apiv nishpat chayim. In other words, he gave him a special tool, a vehicle, and that's going to be eternal, and the person cannot reach that. Right? So therefore, again, we're coming back to the state of men and animals and the same thing. However, the Kli Yakar says that we need to understand again that there is another component that you need to work. That's called yegiya ve'amal, working hard and laboring on your work. And that is going to bring you to the shlemut. And that's a shlemut that's really inside of you, but you need to reveal it. In other words, you're like an onion. You need to peel yourself out. You need to peel yourself out until you reach the core, in which it's almost like a diamond. That you have diamond, you excavate the diamond, there is dirt on it, and there is crust on it, and there is coal on it, and you need to take it and simply start cutting it and addressing it and working. And it takes a long time until you get a diamond that it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It says, "Akol talui," everything is dependent on poal kapav. How much are you going to work? What are you going to do? How much are you going to do with yourself? And that sits very well with what the Ramban writes in the Lachot Shuvah. Everybody is born equal. There's no such thing as the Indian says, the cycle of pain. You know, you're born into karma, and that's you born into a certain caste. You know, therefore you stay like this forever and only by Gilgulim. And there's no such thing, the Rambam says. He says everybody is born equal. It doesn't make it. Nobody's been born poor. Nobody's been born angry or calm. And this is, in other words, what you make out of yourself, that's your effort. In other words, don't come to complain to anybody, and don't blame luck, and don't blame God for that. Don't blame God for that. And that's a problem that we have also in this week's Parashat. We spoke a little bit about it yesterday. when Adam Rishon, ate from the apple, right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu rebuked him. He says, "Did you eat from the tree that I told you not to eat?" So what did he say to him? What did he say to him? Why eating from? I mean, what's wrong with God that he has to punish man, Adam Rishon and his wife, in such an extent that he has to throw them out and curse them forever? What's so wrong? I mean, what, God is so cheap? But what did man say to him, Adam? What did Adam say to him? He said, "Aisha shenatatali, the woman in which you gave me, she made me do that." What's wrong with that statement? The woman in which you gave me made me do that. In other words, I'm not taking any responsibility for myself. And guess what, God? You know, you don't come blame me for me eating from the tree. It's your fault. Why? You gave me this woman. You gave me this woman. She made me that. What do you want from me? God says, "Oh yeah? Well, let me tell you something. Get whatever out of here." That's the problem. We put the blame on everybody. We don't take responsibility, and that's why we get punished all the time. So we need to understand, it's not me, it's everybody else. You need to take responsibility. Why do you take responsibility? Because you are not so important. You are here for a reason. You were placed in this world for a reason. You are not, don't judge people. You're not the judge. You're not the jury. And you're not the executioner. You're here to do a job. Do you know what your job is? And why should I do my job? Why? Because it's something greater than you ever understand. Because God created this world. Period. The fact that you don't believe in God doesn't change the fact that you're going to one day see God and God say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm God." "Whoa, what's your name?" Regardless of what you call yourself, when you don't believe in God, you're basically you are doing the same thing as Adam Rishon. It's not me, it's you. You're doing it. And that's what the Rambam says. What you made up on yourself, you could be as humble as Moshe Rabbeinu. The only thing you cannot reach is the level of prophecy as Moses did. Because that's God-given. God decides who's going to be a prophet. But everything else besides that, it's all dependent on you. If you have a genius like a Gadol Ador, like Rav Ovadia Yosef, or you have a Gadol like Rav Belsky, alav shalom, right? Don't tell me you cannot be it. You could. Maybe it will take you double the time it took them. But did you try? Don't tell me it's impossible, because Rav Ovadia Yosef alav shalom was not born with the whole entire bookshelf downloaded into his brain. He worked hard on it day and night, day and night, day and night. So don't tell me it's impossible when somebody shows you it is possible. You didn't reach the level that you could because you decided not to. And you know why? Because you don't believe really in what the emunah is all about. That God is above the world, and this whole world is created for Him, not for you. For Him, not for you. And you are here to reveal and to help other people to know, I mean, in a way. Who is more precious in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Right? The Jews or the Gentiles?
The Jews.
What you base it on?
We're the chosen people.
The chosen people. What, the Goyim are not his children? Let me ask you something. If a guy has 2 kids, right? One is a good kid, one is a bad kid. What's it, the bad kid is not his kid anymore?
No, he's still his
Of
kid.
course, it's still his kid. So don't think that you are so special. What is special is not you. What's special is the job given to you. And our job is to bring light to the world, to show the people that God, וידעו כל עמי הארץ כי אתה הוא אלוקים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. That the whole entire world, the whole entire nation, the whole entire humanity would know that you are God in heaven and earth and there's nobody else beside you. That's our job. And you think that you came to this world for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give you handouts and social security handouts. That's not the way it's going to work. And that's what we fail. Do you live your life with a sense of a mission to serve God, or you live with a mission so God should serve you? You always want God to do things for you. What are you willing to do for Him? What? Even if you have a wife, you want something from your wife, you understand you have to do something also. Bring flowers, fold the laundry, do something. And yet you keep asking from God more and more and more. And that's the bottom line is, and without you wanting to give and dedicate something, and that's including the time. God gave you in this world to do something. And then you're going to cry to me when things are happening your way. We spoke about it. The only thing is going to save you from the time of distress in the world is 2 things and 2 things only. Torah ugemilut chasadim. We said the Torah is keneged ha'egel, against the egel. Because they betrayed it. They said, Ele Elokecha Israel. So because of that, all the other problems came to us. So for that, we need to learn Torah. And when there's big turmoil in the world, the other thing is going to save you is Gemilut Chasadim. And that's Keneged Adam HaRishon, when they ate from the apple, when the Chava gave said, Tochal, Tochal, Tochal. So instead of harming somebody, we need to help people. And by doing Gemilut Chasadim, we will save from the time of Mashiach, from the Messianic era, from the Messianic time. It's going to be very unstable, very turmoil. Are we doing this? Now you want to know what Emunah is all about. You know why? That's why the Rambam tells you this is all about Emunah. And believing in God is not depending on, listen, God, you give me what I want and I'll believe in you. That doesn't work like that. Do you believe in God? Yes. How far is your belief extending God? How much are you willing to hold on to the belief in God? What needs to, you don't want to be like Job, like Job. But how much do you believe in God? So of course I believe in God. I get up every morning. What do you mean? I get up every morning, I put tefillin on, I keep Shabbat, I eat kosher, I wash my eyes, I wash my feet, I don't know, whatever. That's what it's all about. That's how you measure how God is. How much does your wife love you? As long as you bring a checkbook home or you bring a big check home. And what happens if they fire you and don't bring check home? So when your wife is going to tell you, listen, Habibi, get out of here. There is something to the concept of until death will do us apart. I mean, in fire and water, we're in this together. And Chazal told us, Chachamim told us, a love that is dependent on something or is based on something, you remove that something, you remove the love. Love that is based on love itself with nothing else, on the oneness, on the echad of love, again and again and again. The numerical value of love, ahava, is the same numerical value as one, echad. So when you say Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem echad, when you say God is one, do you really feel one with God? Or you feel it's 2 different entities? God is God and I'm me, and He gives me and I'll try to do my best. That's about it. If you go to a job and you tell the boss, listen, yeah, I want the job. The boss tells you, Chaviti, not a problem. Here's your job. That's your job. You'll do it. Saying, well, you're gonna do it. Yes. How much you pay me? I don't know. I'll pay you $100,000. All right. You're gonna do the job. Well, I'll try to do my best. What do you mean try to do your best? I'm paying you for that. That's your job. I want to try to do my best. I didn't get to it. So guess what? You're fired. Look how much patience God has with us. What are we willing to do for Him? Is there anything in your life that you could say, I did it for God and God only with no ulterior motive, because I just love Him? Anything in your life, are you willing to give up anything in your life for God, to do one thing? And because you know one thing, you know that, and you know that well, you know that the one thing will give you a ticket to Olam Haba. That one thing that you did with just out of pure love, with no ulterior motive, that's going to give you. You could build shuls, you could build mikvaot, you could build yeshivot, but in everything it is tinted as something for you. You could just help an old lady because it was the right thing to do, and that will give you a ticket to Olam Haba. Yes. Do you have one thing that you did to God out of the goodness of your heart without anything? You didn't even think about Olam Haba. You didn't think about it's the right thing to do. You didn't think about even in Kiddush Hashem. Oh, if I'll open the door to this old man, and there will be Kiddush Hashem. Wow, there will be turn. God does not even want that. We spoke about today. We spoke about it in the morning today. Chava, you weren't here. We had a tremendous Kiddush regarding the Korbanot, Korban Tamid. When Korban Tamid says, when he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, how are we going to do the Korban Tamid? The way that you did it for me in Sinai. What do you mean the way you did it in Sinai? When did it bring Korban Tamid? They brought it on the 5th of Sivan. 1 second, Sinai. We received the Torah on the 6th of Sivan, or 7th of Sivan. Why on the 5th of Sivan? Because the Jews felt a tremendous spiritual need to do something for Hashem out of love, so they brought Korban Tamid. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you know how I want you to do Korban Tamid? Because from now on, you will have to bring me Korban that lasted for over 1,000 years, every single day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, every day. You know how I want you to do it for me? The same way as you did it to me over there, at that time, out of the goodness of your heart. That's called believing God. So this, all what you made out of yourself, it's all on how much you chose to work on yourself. Paul Kapav, Mamash, you worked hard on it. So the concept, the notions, the idea that God is putting inside of me, and Nishmat Chaim also could be a bad thing, right? Because a person could say, listen, who did he choose? Like Haman, this is the same story as Haman. Who did the king want if not me? Of course he want me. Oh yeah, so because of that, you should put him on a horse that the king rode. You should put him, the clothing that the person that the king wore, and you should head one of those ministers and saying, "This is how you should do to a person in which the king wants his gratitude, whatever it is, right? Who could it be if not me?" Right? And then what happened? We know the story was hung on a tree. A person can say, oh, God gave me the neshama. What do you think He gave me the neshama? Why did He give it to me? Why HaKadosh Baruch Hu made me so smart? Why did God make me so handsome? Well, because I'm so good. No, you fool, it's not because you're good. Because you have a job to do. And in order to do your job, you need to have those tools. So if you are a very smart person, don't hold it for yourself. Because the Torah tells us, Kochi ve'otzem yadi ele asher asu li ta'avod. That's my might and my power. So comes the Torah and tells us, in the beginning you were nefesh chaya. In the beginning you were an animal. There's no difference between you and the animal. You are an animal. And we know also, we learn in the Gemara, right? Masechet Ta'anit, we learn, when you act like an animal, we have to dress up, like when our actions are bad, and they're not to serve Hashem, they're not glory for Hashem. So Kadosh Baruch Hu closes the faucets of the rain, so we have to wear sacks, and we have to wear burlaps, and we dress up like animals. Why? Because you acted like one, so you dress up like one, right? And that is to revoke a certain feeling of repentance inside of you. In other words, repentance, first of all, repentance means accepting responsibility for the things that I've done. And that was the mistake of Adam HaRishon. Did not take responsibility. He said, I ate it. God, I'm sorry I ate it, but let me just tell you something. That apple was really superb. I mean, almost as good as you get it, in upstate New York. It's really like great apple. I mean, God, thank you. I'm sorry, mi culpa. I take it, chatati. I mean, we will be in Gan Eden. We will not have to have this whole ordeal now. But when he said, she did, and who did? And because of whom? Not only because of the woman. Adam HaRishon pointed his finger at God, not at the woman. By pointing at the woman, he says, the woman which you gave me. So instead of thanking God, we blame God. It's a horrible thing. So that's what we need to do. So we need to understand that at the beginning we are just like animals. And in order to reach this level of deserving to be called a person, we need to choose what's going to be the end of us. What are we going to be? Again, Sof Ma'aseh Machshavat Chila. How do you want to depart from this world? What do you want people to say in your funeral? Right? Are you doing anything for it in terms of that? And for that, it doesn't say when God created man, it doesn't say Vayireh Elokim Ki Tov. Why? Because everything it says Ki Tov. Why didn't it say when he created man Ki Tov? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave man freedom until the end of his life to see if he was good or bad. It's your choice.
But isn't that good?
What do you mean if it's not good?
Isn't that good?
If you choose the right way. You're right. If you choose the right way. And what do we say? Tov Yom HaMavet Miyom Hivodo. Tov Shem Mishem En Tov. Tov Shem Mishem En Tov. It's good to have it. Why? Because at the end of why don't we make a big celebration? What do you say? What do we say at the end? Tov Shem Mishem En Tov V'Yom HaMavet Miyom Hivaldo. Yom HaMavet Miyom Hivaldo. The day he dies better than the day he was born. Why is that? We should make parties in it. Why? Why is that? Because when you end up your life, we know, it was a good man. This guy was a good man. He gave from himself to the community. He did something. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Tov, that's good. When you were born, I don't know what's going to be with you. You could be a tzaddik, you could be a rasha. You were given this ability to choose. And who gave you the ability to choose? God. So you make sure you choose right. Now, so when a person comes out at the beginning, it's not good. And you know that. If you're going to take a baby and you let him grow with wolves, he's going to become basically mentally retarded, what we call them, because he's not going to develop this intellect. He's going to live with animals. So you're going to be animalistic. You're not going to take a kid that grew up until 10 years old by wolves and expect him to be able to analyze Shakespeare or to be able to apply Marcus Aurelius into his daily routine, right? It's not going to happen. Or to Chaz v'Shalom Nehavdil, but to read the Rambam and to learn Rab Chaim. It's not going to happen. A person from the very beginning needs to invest in his children, in himself, to educate them, to make them better, and so on and so forth. And that's your responsibility as a parent to give a proper example for your kids of what should it be. Don't expect your kids to be different than you if you're acting like an animal. They're going to be like you. So you have to give it out. That's responsibility. You want your kids to learn Torah? Come to learn Torah. You want your kids not to marry goyot. You have to enhance the Jewish identity, but you have to live that as well, not just as a facade outside. Also, really live that to touch the truth and the emet. We know the truth is the seal of God. So it's all up to you. Now the second parasha, Parashat Bereishit, it says the following: Ele toldot hashamayim ve'haaretz behi bar'am. Behi bar'am is the same letters of Be'avraham. Ele toledot hashamayim, in other words, this is the chronicles of heaven and earth, in a way, in the merit of Avraham Avinu. In the merit of Avraham Avinu, heaven and earth were created. And the meaning behind this is all aspects of heaven and earth is only to serve us as a background. So therefore, Parashat Bereishit comes as a background, as a how do you call this thing in in Broadway? How do you call this thing?
Backstage.
Not backstage.
Backdrops. Backdrops.
Backdrops, whatever. Okay, that's not the word I was looking, but not curtains. But you got to with curtains. When they make all the designs over there, that's everything was just to serve as a background. Get a better thesaurus.
Non-Zalman.
Basically as a background, as an introduction to Avraham Avinu, which he is the first man in human history that got the title. It says he believed in God. So the whole as you see from here, heaven and earth, skies, angels, stars are only put in place. So this person, Avraham Avinu, will come to the world and discover and believe in God. So you tell me, what is the world we're created for? For God. What were you created for? For God. Are you doing your job? Are you doing your job? Avraham Avinu taught the world what God is all about. So the whole story, the framework of this background is really, and what is Abraham to really show us the emunah that Avraham Avinu had, which he got up in the morning, one day in the morning, he saddled his donkey, he took his son, he took the fire, he took the cleaver, and as the pasuk says, Vayakam vayelech el makom asher amar lo Elohim. God told him to go there, and he did it. God told him to bring his son as an offering. He didn't hesitate. He just did what God told him to do. V'ata yadati ki yareh Elokim ata. Now I know you believe in God. His emunah was complete against whatever he thought it was all about, whatever the pagans used to do, and the worshipping of the Moloch. God told me to do so. I'm doing so because I understand it's not my place to question. It's not my place to ask. Because even if I were given an answer, I would not be able to understand. So when people tell me, where was God in the Holocaust? It's a question that even if I had the answer, I would not be able to give you, because even if I would be able to give it to you, you would not understand it, and I would not understand it. It's above and beyond us. Don't worry where God was, worry where you are. And that's something we need to understand. And the Abarbanel says, Kavash et chamoro. In other words, when he donkey, chamor means a donkey, but also means chobriut, materialism. He took all materialism out of it. In other words, he did it for the sake of that God told him to do so. And that is the victory of spirit over matter. And that's something we need to understand. This is implanted in all of us. We can win that battle. We can win the battle of spirit over matter. But do we want to? And how do we do that? Now, if I would tell you, listen, you gotta fix your ways, right? If it's my job as your rabbi to guide you, I'm guiding you. But if I'm talking to you as a friend, so you have to do it. So I see something better in you and I'm telling you, you have to do it. In other words, when I say you have to do it, it means I don't have to do anything because I'm telling you to do something. You're going to do the job for me. I'm fine. I mean, I was able to see it. But if you understand what I tried to explain to you today, you understand that everybody has to constantly work every single day of his life on himself. So when I know that I have a job to do, and you know you have a job to do, and you know, and all of you know that you have a job to do, and your job is your job, and you decide to take responsibility, you first of all need to acknowledge the fact that there is a God, and you are here to serve Him. After that, you understand that you have a job to do, and you did not come to this world to drink Corona or beer on a Copacabana in Brazil, and having a margarita with the umbrellas inside, and to scratch yourself like an orangutan. That's not what you came to this world for. That's not to see Lola either. In Copacabana. The name was Rico also. Not for that you came to this world. You came here for one thing and one thing only. Are you serving God? Now you need to look and observe every single act of your actions during the day and tell me, was that directed towards God? Truthfully, yes or no? Would that make this world into a better place as your job? So if you take the responsibility to do that, and I'll take the responsibility to do that, therefore we create a certain nucleus already of goodness. There's goodness within me. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to give you a framework for you to better operate. I'm not here to judge. We're not the judge, as I said to you before. We're not anything. God is the judge. Hashofet kol haaretz. He's the judge of the whole universe, not us. We're here to help people. We're here to guide people. We're here to teach people. We're here to make sure people don't fall into the abyss. We need to do that, and we need to serve an example. How are we going to do that? We're going to be the light. Just as moth comes to the light. We need to be the light, the beacon of light in the darkness in which we are at. All of us, as a community, as a nation, as whatever. Each and every one of us. What about Chanukah? Turn around the corner is Chanukah, right? באנו חושך לגרש בידינו. נו, כל אחד הוא אור קטן, וכולנו אור אחד. Each one of us is a small light, but all together we are one light. If you fix your world, you worry about yourself, you worry about your relationship with God, and I'll do it, and you'll do it, and all of a sudden we have a better world. I told you this many times. When you go to people, you gotta do this, and you point one finger to one, there are three fingers are pointing at you. So when you point at somebody, you should do this, look at yourself 3 times more than what you tell the other person. Fix yourself before you tell somebody else. Rabotai, this is all Sefer Bereishit. It's all about emunah and about the examples that the forefathers will give us about emunah. And it's something that we must enhance in our times, and us, each and every one of us now. Believe in God. And how are we going to do so? Let's start to dedicate small things, just to God, for no ulterior motive. Take time from yourself. You're not that important. As they say, you know, the cemeteries are full of people who thought they cannot be replaced. Everybody could be replaced. Listen, Moshe Rabbeinu was replaced. Everybody could be replaced. The only one who cannot be replaced is Kedusha B'Lechu, is Ribono Shel Olam. Everybody could be replaced. You're not that important. So concentrate on your job. Concentrate on what needs to do. Care for others. And enhance your emunah. Emunah, Rabotai. We have to have emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Without that, we're not going to make it. We are not going to make it. Chas v'shalom, none of us. It's all about emunah. There were people in the concentration camps. The only thing that survived them, that made them survive, is the belief in God. God doesn't, I don't have a question, I'm going to just keep on doing what I'm doing. And that will pull them through. And we need to do the same thing. When there's darkness, show your responsibility to bring about the light. Bring the light down. Don't be a trickster. Don't look for like ways to like go like this, or, you know, it's combino. Don't try to do kind of like, whistling here, whistling that. Be a beacon of truth, of righteousness, of doing the right thing. Be welcoming, be nice to every man, every person, Jew or Gentile alike. Be nice and courteous and truthful. Don't lie. Look for the truth. Pursue it. Pursue the truth and attach yourself to God. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.